Judith has prepared a PowerPoint, so it keeps me on on topic. Certainly, we've had our welcome, and again, we extend to all of you a warm welcome for our future events and many of our projects. We have all kinds of amazing projects to give back to local organizations. So stay informed with us. You know, follow us on social media, check out the emails that Judith sends, and stay along with us. All right. We're not going to go through everybody on the call today. We just have the opportunity to learn from Dr. Sonia and Koli Israel about our sleep issues. So is there anything we want to do before we get into Dr. and Koli Israel's presentation, Judith?
Do you think maybe we should have one rep from every one of the Kiwanis clubs that's here? Just quickly say who they're from and what club, just so that we can give people maybe a couple more minutes before we start the program.
Sure. Let's start with Escondido. Who would like to introduce Escondido?
I will. Ruth Moss from Hidden Valley, Escondido.
Wonderful. We also have Scripps Ranch. Craig, do you want to take the lead?
Yeah, it's Craig Bratlian, president of the Scripps Ranch Club, and always enjoy coming to your meetings.
Wonderful. And we have from Bonita. Who do I have from Bonita? Is it Peter?
That would be me, Peter Matz, Bonita Kiwanis.
Woohoo!
Thanks.
Now I'm looking at my screen. Kathy and George. You're muted.
You'd think by now we'd figure this out. Duh. I'm Kathy Butterstein. My husband is George. We're from the Granville Allied Gardens Kiwanis Club. We're grateful to be here, but right now we have a plumber. So my husband keeps jumping in and out as the plumber comes and asks questions. So I apologize for that.
Got to take care of business. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you. Welcome. Brittany, are you with one of the other clubs that have already introduced themselves?
I'm with Just in Time for Foster Youth.
Oh,
So I'm not sure which club I'm a part of, but I'm here representing JIT.
She's our potential new member. Welcome, Brittany. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Looking forward to being involved.
And also big congratulations on receiving one of our big grants.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Gordon mentioned that. I'll be at the luncheon, I believe it's next week or 2 weeks from now. So looking forward to receiving that. Thank you so much.
terrific. And I see Elaine, are you with a
That's
local?
my
I'm
mom.
not, I'm Judith's mom, but I'm the one who suggested Professor Israel because I heard her years ago at Osher and learned a lot.
Thank you, Elaine.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. We hope to meet you in person someday soon. All right. Well, with no further ado, let's just jump on in. I do have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Sonia and Koli Israel. As you may have seen from the introductions on your emails and what have you, she is a professor emeritus of psychiatry and professor of research at the University of California, San Diego School of Medicine. Dr. Koli Israel received her bachelor's degree from the State University of New York, Stony Brook, love it, and a master's degree from California State University, Long Beach, and a PhD in psychology from the University of California, San Francisco. So she's moved around a bit.
Mm-hmm.
She is certified in sleep medicine and in behavioral sleep medicine, and is a fellow of the American Academy of Sleep Medicine and of the Gerontological Society of America. Dr. Koli Israel has countless awards for her research and her career in science. And again, more can be seen on our website or in the information you received about today's event. Dr. Koli Israel is published regularly in medical and psychiatric journals with over 500 publications in the field. She was recently named among the best female scientists in the world by research.com. That's amazing. We are so delighted to have you with us, Dr. Koli Israel. And we are all going to learn from you, but I'm going to just invite everyone to go ahead and mute yourselves. And if you would please just jot down any questions you have, and she will take the questions at the end of her presentation. So the floor is all yours, Dr. Ankoli Israel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's really my honor to be here to speak with you guys today, guys and gals. The topic was supposed to be a combination of insomnia and sleep and aging, but in 20 minutes, that's a lot to cover. So I'm going to focus. Let me share my screen. I'm going to focus on aging, but everything I say about aging also applies to insomnia in general, and I'll point out where the insomnia part really comes in. But aging, sleep and aging was one of my areas of specialty when I was still working. I am retired now. I've been retired for about 10 years, and yet here I am still giving talks and having fun. So there are a lot of myths about what happens to our sleep as we get older, and that's sort of what I want to go over. What's true, what should we be expecting, and what in fact is a myth. So, whoops, why is this not? Whoops. There we go. All right. So those of you maybe like Elaine who have heard me, I can't remember which talk I gave at Osher, but I always start my aging talks with this slide. So here's a cartoon from Marvin. Marvin's playing a game with his grandfather and he thinks, Grandpa fell asleep playing with me. I better put these someplace for safekeeping. And he takes Grandpa's glasses. And people think this is funny. And of course, it's not the glasses I care about. It's the fact that Grandpa fell asleep while playing a game. And people think this is normal behavior. And the truth is, no matter what the age of an individual, you should never be falling asleep at what I would consider an inappropriate time, such as playing a game. So if someone is falling asleep at times when they really should be able to stay awake, it means there's something wrong with their sleep at night, which is making them excessively sleepy during the day. And the question becomes, what is that? What's going on? This is the most complicated slide I'm going to show you, and I'm going to walk you through it. It's really not that complicated, but this explains sort of how sleep works. We call it our two-process model. And we've got on top here our sleep drive, or our need to sleep. So, and this is the 24 hours of the day. So when you wake up in the morning, that need to sleep is going to be very low, right? Because you just slept and you're waking up, so you're rested. As you go throughout the day, that need to sleep, or that sleep drive, increases until it gets so high that you can't stay awake anymore. You fall asleep. And when you fall asleep, the need or sleep drive decreases. It dissipates until the next morning when the whole cycle begins again. What keeps you from falling asleep in the evening here as that sleep drive increases? It's the circadian alerting system. Circadian means about 24 hours. It refers to our circadian rhythms, or our biological clock. And so this alerting signal also starts low in the morning. It increases during the day, which helps us stay awake, until these two systems sort of come to this balance point, at which point you fall asleep, and that circadian alerting system also decreases until the next morning when the whole thing starts again. When these are both working well, you sleep just fine. When either one of these sort of goes out of whack, then you have trouble sleeping. Like the circadian system is very sensitive to timing. Jet lag would be one example, which I just got back from India, so I am quite jet lagged. So I'm experiencing this right now, but it's sort of out of whack, and it takes time to get it back in control again. You see, I have two other curves here. One is the melatonin curve. You've all heard of melatonin. I'm not talking about the kind you buy over the counter. Melatonin is a hormone that's secreted in a certain part of our brain, and it's secreted in darkness, and it does help us get sleepy. And that's why it's so important that your sleep environment be very dark. I'll come back to this later. You'll also see this curve here. This is our core body temperature curve. Core body temperature drops at night. That's when we get sleepy. It rises in the morning. That's when we wake up. Notice there's this dip here in core body temperature, and that's why we get sleepy after lunch or in the early afternoon. It has very little to do with what you've eaten. It has to do with, this is actually a very normal time to go to sleep or to be tired. And of course, there are whole societies that do that, right? The siesta. But in a 24-hour period, people who nap in the afternoon routinely sleep the same amount of time we do. They're just doing it in 2 bouts, and we tend to do it in 1. So this is how sleep and wake interact and operate. Now, I thought I put in a slide, but maybe I didn't. How many hours sleep do older adults versus younger adults get? I should tell you first, how many hours of sleep should we be getting? Adults, no matter what the age, so it includes older adults as well, need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Anything less than that is going to be sleep deprivation. You need 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. And there's this myth out there that as we get older, we need less sleep. And that's not at all true. We still need the same amount of sleep. And what you see here, these are the hours of reported sleep. This was a survey done by the National Sleep Foundation many years ago. And I'm embarrassed to say that they considered older as 65 and above. I argued with them about that. I lost the battle. But you can see that younger adults here, the blue is 18 to 54-year-olds. The pink is 55 to 64. The yellow is the combination of those two. So it's, oh no, I'm sorry. The yellow is the 65 to 84 and the orange is the 55 to 84. It's a sort of more combined. But what you see is that during the week, older adults report 7 hours of sleep. Younger adults are getting a little less. But on the weekends, the younger adults are sort of making up for all the sleep they lost during the week. But the older adults are still sleeping 7 hours. So sleep is not decreasing. The amount of sleep that older adults get is not necessarily decreasing. Why do we care if people don't sleep well? And this is true of all ages, because there are consequences to not sleeping, getting enough sleep. You have a harder time with attention, memory, concentration, a slower response time. And by response time, I don't mean how long it takes you to push a button in response to some stimulus. Think of it as, how long does it take you to slam on the brake when a child is chasing a ball in front of your car? That's reaction time. And when you're not getting enough sleep, when you're sleep deprived, that is going to be slower. And there's decreased performance, whether it's school or at work. You have a harder time doing the things you need to do when you're sleep deprived. And sleep deprivation could be because you're just not spending enough time in bed to get the sleep that you need. Or it could be that you're having some difficulty with your sleep, even though you're spending enough time in bed. Both can lead to the same consequences. Now, in the older adult, one issue with all these symptoms is it could be misinterpreted as dementia, right? Problem with memory, attention, etc. But in fact, it's not dementia. It's just a consequence of this not getting enough sleep at night. So why does sleep get worse as we get older? Is it aging? No, it's not aging per se that causes problem with sleep. It's all the other things that happen to us as we get older that end up affecting our sleep. And these would include medical and psychiatric illnesses, all the medications that we take as we get older, changes in our biological clock, our circadian rhythm, and the higher prevalence of primary sleep disorders, which things like sleep apnea, restless legs, REM behavior disorder. I wasn't going to speak on any of those, but if you have questions about them, I certainly can address them when we get to the Q&A. So let me touch at least a little bit on each of these. And I do this in the framework of aging, but again, medical conditions are going to be associated with poor sleep no matter what a person's age. So whether it's the pain of headaches or arthritis, cancer, neuropathy, anything that causes pain is going to be associated with poor sleep. GI changes, problems with breathing, COPD, the neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, nocturia, you get up to pee during the night, that's going to disrupt your sleep. And we used to talk about things like, for let's say pain being the primary problem and then the sleep being the secondary. We now know that's not true. They're both primary. They just happen to be comorbid. They occur together. And we find that by treating both at the same time, we get a much better response. So you don't want to treat the headache or the depression and assume the sleep is going to get better. You want to treat the sleep at the same time that you're treating the pain and or whatever else that comorbid condition is. Medical problems do increase with age, which is why I do this in the sense of aging. But if you look at how many medical problems people report, so here the blue is 0, the pink is 1, the yellow is 2 to 3, and orange is 4 or more. And you can see when they report sleeping less than 6 hours a night, having any insomnia or having excessive daytime sleepiness, but that's what EDA is. So that's that falling asleep at inappropriate times during the day. You can see the more medical conditions someone has, the worse their sleep is. So here's Marvin again, and he's sitting with his little cousin. He says, how come Grandpa never goes to a job like other big people? Because he works at home, silly. See, he runs a drugstore. Well, polypharmacy, taking lots of medications, is certainly something that happens to us as we get older. And of course, younger people also take medications, and many of these medications are also associated with insomnia. And it doesn't have to be a prescription. Let's talk about alcohol for a minute. Many people will use alcohol specifically to help them go to sleep at night. And alcohol does make you sleepy initially. But several hours later, when the alcohol leaves your bloodstream, it wakes you right back up again. Alcohol causes insomnia. Caffeine, you all know that caffeine makes it harder to sleep. And you have to be a little more aware of what's in caffeine. My patients used to say, oh, I don't have any caffeine. I just drink a lot of green tea. Green tea is full of caffeine. Diet sodas have more caffeine in them than the non-diet equivalent. So Diet Coke has more caffeine than a regular Coke. So you sort of have to think about that. Nicotine, in case you don't have enough reasons to stop smoking, there's one more, it disrupts your sleep. But also many of the prescription medications, antidepressants, steroids, decongestants, beta agonists, antagonists, et cetera, they all could, not necessarily are, but could be associated with insomnia. Many of the drugs are stimulants, and if you take them in the evening, it's going to make it harder to sleep. Many of them are sedating. If you take them during the day, it may make you sleepy during the day, but then you can't sleep at night. So sometimes with your doctor's advice, by changing the dose or the time of day that you take these medications, you can have a tremendous positive impact on your insomnia, on your sleep. Okay, so what about our biological clock, circadian rhythms? Ben Franklin was wise enough to say early to bed, early to rise, et cetera, et cetera. What he may not have realized is that's exactly what describes what happens to us as we get older and explains why we fall asleep at the symphony or the opera or other places at night. So let's look at what our biological clock, our circadian phase is. The typical phase for most adults is they get sleepy, maybe 10, 11 o'clock. Remember, that's when core body temperature drops. They sleep their 7 to 8 hours, which means they're waking up somewhere around 6 in the morning and everything's fine. But at different times of our lives, these patterns change. So when we look at teenagers, adolescents, young adults, they have what we call a delayed sleep phase. They don't get sleepy till maybe 1, 2 in the morning. That's when their core body temperature drops. So if they try to go to bed at 10 or 11, they have a very hard time falling asleep because their body's not quite ready yet. And adolescents actually need more sleep. They need 9, even 10 hours of sleep. So if you do the math, if they're not going to bed till 1 in the morning, they're going to wake up way late in the late morning hours, which is what teenagers love to do, right? As parents, we used to always yell at our kids on the weekend, stop sleeping the day away, you know, stop being lazy, you're wasting time. But in fact, that's a very normal pattern for that age group. And the problem is, and this is why there's this movement now to start high schools later, for them to get up at 6, 7 in the morning and sit in a math class is like the rest of us trying to sit in a math class at 3 in the morning. And teenagers tend to sleep through their first couple of classes because of this delayed sleep phase. Most people, as they grow into adulthood, outgrow this delayed sleep phase. The pattern shifts back to this typical phase, but some people stay delayed their whole life. That's who we call our owls. If you are an owl, you know you are. If we were live, I'd ask for a show of hands, of which Who of you are owls? I'm sure we have at least one in this virtual room. And owls are delayed. They like their best time of day is the afternoon or evening. They like to go to sleep very late and sleep late into the morning. For those of us who do shift back, as we continue to get older, this pattern continues to shift or advanced, so that older adults have what we call advanced sleep phase. We get, and I say we because I'm in this group, we get sleepy earlier in the evening, maybe 8, 9 o'clock. You know, that's why they're early bird specials at restaurants. Older adults eat earlier and they go to bed earlier. And if we go to bed when we first get sleepy about 8 or 9 o'clock, we will sleep our 7 to 8 hours. But if you do the math, that means we're waking up at 4, 5, 6 in the morning. What's the biggest complaint older adults have? I'm waking up in the middle of the night. Here it is, the middle of the night, and I can't get back to sleep. And they can't. Their core body temperature is rising. Physiologically speaking, their night is done. It doesn't matter that the sun hasn't come out yet. Their sleep is finished. Now, there are two scenarios that happen here. One is that the older adult might get sleepy early, but they still sort of force themselves to stay up. They go to bed late, but they still wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning. Now they're not in bed long enough to get a full night's sleep. You can't get 7 to 8 hours if you're only in bed for 5 or 6 hours. They get sleepy during the day. Maybe they take an afternoon nap. That nap allows them to stay alert later into the evening, but now they get into the cycle of not sleeping enough at night and needing to nap during the day. I just realized that you're not seeing my pointer because I didn't turn it on. I'm so sorry. I've been pointing this whole time and you've missed it. The other scenario that happens here is that they have dinner, they sit down after dinner to watch TV, read a book, and what happens? They fall asleep. And they sleep for maybe half an hour or an hour, then they get up and they get ready for bed. Now they can't fall asleep because they just slept. Remember, there's not enough time for that sleep need or sleep drive to increase because they haven't been awake long enough. So now they complain about having difficulty falling asleep and waking up too early. They go to see their doctor and they say, I have terrible insomnia, but it's not insomnia. It's an advanced sleep phase in combination with this bad habit of napping in the early evening in front of the TV. There are ways to shift people for our owls. The best way to shift is with bright light. Light is the strongest cue our body has to know when to go to sleep, when to wake up, and that morning light helps resynchronize our clock every day. So morning light is really important in general. If you're having trouble sleeping, if you're having insomnia, go out in the morning when you first wake up. We live in a fabulous climate. Have your coffee outside, go for an early morning walk. The key is to do it without sunglasses because the mechanism of the light affecting our rhythms is through the eyes. And if you wear sunglasses, it blocks all that great light. So get your morning light, and that also will help advance this rhythm. You'll start getting sleepy earlier and waking up earlier. Sometimes we use over-the-counter melatonin to help for owls to get sleepy earlier, but a very, very low dose. We're talking about 1 milligram or even half a milligram taken an hour or two before bedtime. So we're not using it as a sleeping pill. We're using it to shift the rhythms. For our morning larks, our older adults, we want light in the evening. You can use artificial, very bright light boxes, but what I tell people is go out for a walk as late in the day as possible while the sun is still out. And that will help you stay alert later into the day and sleep later into the morning. If any of this isn't clear, we can review it again later. So what about insomnia? So these are the things that help you sleep. Being physically fit, the more you exercise, the better you sleep. Having a good routine, people do that with kids and then we forget when we grow up that having routines are very good. Treating your medical or psychiatric problems, checking your medications, making sure your sleep environment, your bedroom is comfortable, but has to also be very dark. Remember, we said melatonin is secreted in darkness. Anytime you have light on, it's telling your brain it's time to wake up, stop secreting melatonin. So you want very dark, very quiet. A white noise machine might help if you're in a noisy environment. And then a comfortable temperature, which is very individual. And then only using your bed for sleep. I say in sex in parentheses, for the sex only if it's satisfying. Otherwise, I don't want you doing that in bed either. The bed is for sleep. You need to learn to associate sleep with the bed. That means no watching TV, no reading, no paying bills, no looking at your computer, none of that, only sleep. Now, if you don't have any trouble sleeping, I don't care what you do in bed. But if you have insomnia, it's very important to learn to associate the bed with sleeping and not with all these other things that we tend to do in bed. And I'll come back to that in a minute as well. What hurts sleep? Well, we already talked about caffeine and alcohol. Worrying. You know, in our busy life, often the first moment we have to sit and think is when we get into bed at night, and that's the wrong time to start thinking. So we tell people, find 10, 15 minutes during the day and set aside this time to worry. We call this our worry time. Make a list if you have to, but just sit and think about all the things that you tend to think about at night. And if you do this every day at the same time, it's just conditioning. If you do it at the same day every time, you'll stop doing it at night. And if you start doing it at night, you can say, wait a second, I have from 10 to 10:15 to do this tomorrow. And it can be quite effective. So, and now if your environment is, you know, too much light, too noisy, etc., and then using your bed for things other than sleep. This is probably the most important slide of the whole thing, of this whole talk. We have the best treatment for insomnia is called cognitive behavioral therapy. It is the first line of treatment. It is more effective than any sleeping pills, and it's long lasting, because what we do is we reteach you how to sleep. And once you learn that, you always know what to do. And the 4 cardinal rules of this behavioral treatment are, first of all, don't spend too much time in bed. What does the insomniac do? Oh my God, I didn't sleep a wink last night. I'm going to go to bed at 2 hours earlier to try to get more sleep. The more time you spend in bed, the more fragmented your sleep is. The less time you spend in bed, the more consolidated. So 8.5 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep out of 8.5 hours in bed is much more efficient than 8 hours of sleep out of 9 or 10 hours in bed. So don't spend too much time in bed. Get up at the same time every day, no matter how much or how little sleep you got the night before. This is has to do 2 things. One is stabilizing our circadian rhythm. Our rhythms need one stable point around which to fluctuate, and you can't control what time you fall asleep. You can only control what time you wake up. And so you have to get up at the same time every day. Don't go to bed until you're sleepy. Don't go to bed at 10 o'clock or 11 because that's when your spouse goes to bed, or because you think that's when you should go to bed. If you're not sleepy, you're not going to fall asleep. You're just going to toss and turn and get upset about not sleeping. So you only go to bed when you feel sleepy. But along with that, if you're feeling sleepy, go to bed. You know, if you start getting sleepy at 9:30 or 10, don't force yourself to stay up. Your body is telling you that's the time to go to bed. Listen to your body. And then the last rule is don't stay in bed unless you're asleep. So if you're tossing and turning, whether it's at the beginning of the night or the middle of the night, get out of bed, leave the bedroom, go into another room and do something that you find relaxing until you feel your eyes closing again. And only then you go back to bed. If lo and behold, you go back to bed and you're tossing and turning and you're still getting all tense again about not sleeping, get out of bed again. And you do this all night long if necessary until you can get into bed and fall asleep. Again, the point is not to associate the bed with tossing and turning and being tense about not sleeping. So you only stay in bed when you're asleep. So the 4 cardinal rules. Other things we can do, we talked about exercising. The ideal time to exercise is sometime in the afternoon. It doesn't always work out that way, but exercise, when you exercise, your core body temperature rises. It takes about 6 hours for it to start falling. And remember, when it starts falling, we get sleepy. We talked about the caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, getting rid of the clock. You never want a clock in the bedroom. Your phone, which is what most people use now for clocks, don't belong by your bedside. If you need an alarm to wake up, stick it under the bed or in a drawer somewhere where you're not tempted to look at it, especially in the middle of the night. When you get up, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you're still in transitional sleep. In order to look at the clock, you gotta open your eyes, maybe lift your head, and you have to take yourself to full awakening to comprehend that it's 1:20 in the morning and you want to be asleep. By taking yourself to full awakening, it's now going to be much harder to fall back to sleep. Remember that sleep drive needs enough time to increase to help you fall asleep. So if you can stay in that transitional state of sleep, you're much more likely to fall right back to sleep. So when you wake up at night, keep your eyes closed, just sort of rearrange yourself and see if you can fall back right back to sleep. Don't look at the clock. And if the clock is there, it's too tempting to look at. So clocks don't belong in the bedroom. You're going to tell me, by the way, that when you wake up, you need to go to the bathroom. Usually needing to go to the bathroom doesn't wake you up. You wake up first, you realize there's pressure, and you decide to go to the bathroom. If you can fall right back to sleep, you may not even need to get up. If you do need to get up, try to do it without too much light. Remember, light tells your brain that it's time to wake up. I don't want you falling, so maybe use a night light or something, but you don't want a lot of bright overhead lights. We talked about keeping the environment. We talked about worry time and napping. If you are going to nap, we tell insomniacs not to nap because, again, it's going to interfere with your being able to sleep at night. But if you have to nap, limit it to 30 minutes. You know how sometimes you take a nap and you wake up and you're feeling worse than you did before you went to sleep? That's because you took a long nap, and it has to do with what stage of sleep you're in and with our rhythms. If you limit your naps to 30 minutes, you'll wake up feeling more rested. But the nap could interfere with your ability to fall asleep that night. So to summarize, I didn't time this, but I hope I stayed on time for you. It's not aging per se that results in poor sleep, but rather all the things that go along with aging. Although the need to sleep does not change with age, it's the ability to sleep that does change. And that's because of all those medical conditions, the medications we use, changes in our circadian rhythms, and some of those primary sleep disorders. Poor sleep in the older adult, and actually in any age adult, is most often associated with medical and psychiatric problems, medications, changes in our circadian rhythms. And no matter what there's a medical risk associated with it, such as with sleep apnea. So if you're not sleeping well, talk to your doctor about it and get help, because all of our sleep disorders that we know of can be treated. And I'll just end with this. Aging seems to be the only available way to live a long life. So I wish you all a very long life filled with very good sleep. And with that, I will stop sharing, and I'm happy to take questions.
I have a question.
Susan, are you going to handle the questions for us?
I believe it sounded like Sean had a question. I'm not sure. I can't see. There we go.
That also sounded like Sean to me, yes.
Okay, now can you see this?
You might
The
have
card-
to describe it to us.
It's a description of a cartoon, and the man and wife are in bed, and the man suddenly gets up and he says, "Wow, didn't wake up to pee."
Yeah, that's a good one. That is an issue, of course, as men especially get older, there are issues with prostate, but even that is treatable. So,
You know, I'm 88. I work out at the gym every morning,
good for you.
and I have a big breakfast, and then I die. I have to have an hour's sleep. So
That's
there
okay.
goes my whole morning. Because at night, oh no.
Thank you for sharing that,
that.
Sean. Any other questions?
I have
Don't
a
be
quick
shy.
question.
Yes, Susan.
Sonia. My daughter's a nurse, and though she works days, I remember when she was going through nursing school and she had to work nights. And I think about these careers where people have to absolutely juxtapose their days and nights. And honestly, personally, I don't think I'd ever make it. But can you just maybe touch on that. I'm just curious, how does the body get into that rhythm and
Shift
do they have
work, yeah,
time-
shift work is rough. If someone's an owl, if they tend to be delayed, then they love doing shift work. They love working at night. It's much easier for them. But for those of people who are not owls, it's very difficult. And the body never fully adjusts to it. There are ways we can help shift workers, behavioral things that we can have them do both during the night and during the day to help them sleep during the day. If they're doing rotating shifts, if they rotate forward in time, that's easier on the body than rotating back in time. But shift work is difficult. And there are a lot of, we've learned medical consequences, health consequences to doing shift work for a long time. Craig?
Hi, Dr. Sonia.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you have any techniques to improve dream state.
I don't. I don't know quite what you mean by improve. Everybody dreams. We don't remember the dream unless we wake up right after it. So when people tell me they always remember their dreams, I think, that means you're waking up too much during the night.
Ah.
We dream in 90-minute cycles. We go through each of our sleep stages every 90 minutes. So everybody dreams. Most of the dreams take place in the last third of the night in the morning hours, but we dream throughout the night. So there is really no way to change that.
Gotcha. My kids seem to always reflect on their dreams in the morning, and I'm racking my brain trying to say, what did I dream about last night?
Yeah, it's actually better if you don't remember it.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Craig, you've been very patient.
No problem. So my blood pressure medicine, losartan, is that something that I take after with dinner? My wife and I both take a little, whatever we're given at dinner time. Is that a medication that prolongs, you from, or keeps you from falling asleep, do you think?
It can affect sleep. The first question would be, are you having trouble sleeping? If you're not, I wouldn't worry about it. If you are, I would talk to your doctor about whether you could try it in the morning instead of the evening and see if that makes a difference in your sleep.
Yeah, well, my wife she gets mad at me because I wake up in the night and I, go pee or whatever, but I fall asleep in 2 minutes when I go back to bed. So she says, well, you woke me up and now I can't fall back asleep, but you fall asleep right away,
I see that a lot. I hear that a lot. Yeah. I saw another hand. Peter, I think you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. A couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, and I know that's not your topic today, but I was having like 22 episodes an hour, and now I use a CPAP machine, which I can't get through the night with, because if I wake up wearing the device, I have to take it off or I'll never get back to sleep. My question is, do you have any information about the implants I've been hearing about?
Yeah, so it's becoming more popular. You should talk to, hopefully you're being followed by a sleep specialist. If not, you might go see one and see if you're a good candidate for that. I have to tell you that so CPAP, sleep apnea is a condition for everyone else, if you don't know, where people stop breathing in their sleep. So periodically throughout the night, the airway collapses, and in order to start breathing again, you have to wake up. This goes on throughout the night. And obviously there are consequences to not breathing at night, and as well as waking up so many times during the night. And the gold standard treatment is a mask that you wear that's connected to a machine that pushes positive pressure through the airway, which keeps the airway open. Peter, my experience, and I've got over 40 years experience in this, is it's really all about the mask. If you find that you're still having problems with your CPAP machine, go back and try a different mask and keep trying until you find one that you like. There are so many different masks out there, and it's really all about finding the right one for you.
Okay, I have tried probably 10, and I've got one that works better than the others for me, but the positive pressure is like a hurricane in your nose.
Do you have a CPAP or an APAP?
CPAP.
Go again, see your sleep doc and see if they can switch you to an APAP. An APAP adjusts the pressure both at inspiration and expiration, and it's a little easier.
Okay, so, APAP. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, time for one last question. Anybody have something burning in their heads they're trying to get out before we close it out? Oh, there goes Kathy.
I have one, 14 months ago, I fell and I ended up with 2 compression fractures in my vertebrae.
Ouch.
And ever since then, I've been in pain, especially at night. And in 14 months, I haven't been able to sleep through the night without waking up lots of times because every time I try to move, I get shooting pain. And so all night long, I'm up. And then in the morning, I can barely move. I'm trying to get the pain under control, but
Right.
I've been tempted to start taking, the sleep medicines and everything, but I'm afraid to do that because I've already taken so much ibuprofen and all that other stuff.
Don't be afraid. There are times when sleeping medications are appropriate. As I said, the behavioral treatments are the first line, but with your pain, we wouldn't want you getting in and out of bed a lot. Again, I would talk to not only a pain specialist, but a sleep specialist. Us sleep docs know a lot more about sleep than the primary care physicians. They don't have time to deal with your sleep issues. They're more concerned with your hypertension and whatever else. So go to, there are quite a few. I mean, obviously I like the UCSD sleep clinic because that's where I am affiliated or was affiliated. But see a sleep specialist and see if they can help you find the best way, because you need to get the sleep under control at the same time that you try to get the pain under control.
Thank you. I appreciate your
You're
help.
welcome.
Yes, thank you again, Dr. Sonia and Koli Israel. Really great. I'm telling you, if you really wanted to play with me, you take away my sleep and I turn into a devil.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again. And I believe we have some of your contact information. We'll be sure that everybody, if they have some follow-up questions, can reach out to you. And I'm so pleased that Elaine goes to Osher and got to meet you. That's a really awesome program. So well done, Elaine. Thanks for the referral. All right.
I'm just looking through all the comments in the chat. Thank you all. Wonderful, beautiful comments. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed the presentation.
All right, Miss Judith, what do we have next?
We have birthdays. Is it
It is a ton of birthdays.
so many birthdays? Yes.
Good golly, Miss
And
Melanie.
I think some of these people are on the call. I think Lauren, Glenn, and Heather, at least at one point, were on the call. I don't know if they still are.
Yes, happy birthday, you Aries and
Aquarius.
thank you, Aquarius. Aquarius, I think. Thank you, and happy birthday to all of you. I don't know what was happening 9 months ago this time of year, but sounds like
I think you do, Susan.
okie dokie. So happy birthday. And as always, we hope that you'll help celebrate your birthday by making a donation to the Kiwanis Club. So we'll look forward to perhaps getting that in the office soon. And we also have this opportunity to maybe share some happy or some news that you want to share with us that we can keep you in our thoughts for our Bills Bucks. If anybody has something they'd like to share, if you just shout it out. There's Carl.
Yeah, I've got $10. We just got back, well, it's been a week or so now, from just a fantastic 18 days in Norway and Sweden. That was just a great trip. And so we enjoyed the heck out of it. I highly recommend it, even in winter. It's beautiful.
Well, welcome home. I'm glad you had safe travels and thank you for the donation. Look forward to hearing more about that.
Well,
Doug,
and I should say, because I don't think there's another time to do it, I did bring something back for when we meet in person. Let's see if we can see it here. Direct from the ABBA Museum in Stockholm. Direct, that's the bag. We have the Dancing Queen t-shirt, which I'm sure will be a popular auction item when we get together again. So this is a pre-bid item.
Oh yeah, that one's gonna be a hot one. So thank you for thinking of us, Carl. Can't wait to hear about the museum too. Doug, looks like you had something to say.
I'll put in $5. For those of you who are not aware, I have declared my candidacy for district governor of the California, Nevada, Hawaii District of Kiwanis International. And I hope it's a happy $5 ultimately.
Wonderful. Congratulations. And thank you for your service. I hope it works out as planned, and we appreciate your donation as well.
As long as I can sweep my immediate circle of friends, I have a fairly good chance of winning.
Guess you'll find out who your friends are. Just
I guess
kidding. All right.
I have 10. I'm really excited that Brittany's here from Just in Time. Really excited that all our new members. It's really exciting just to know that people are interested, and great to see all the other Kiwanians here. And I'm really excited. I took Ruby, my dog, on her first flight. We flew to San Francisco because this summer I'm going to try and visit my parents in the Azore Islands, and I have to bring her. So very excited that I now have an adventure doggo. But I do have the Callens on backup in case I can't bring her. Ryan, you were the best dog sitter. I've been touting all of your wonderful work. So now that Ryan's on the call, I wanted to give Callan a shout for saving the day when I needed Ruby care before. So love this Kiwanis family. If you have a dog, you know, we can and need help, just reach out to us, because enough of us have dogs and sitters and all sorts of things. So just wanted to make sure, you know, lots of good resources all across the board.
Thank you, Karina. Hi, Gordon. You are muted.
Shame on me. So let me throw $100 into the pot for the happiest of all newses. We all know, and it's in the theme of our speaker today, that health is of most important. And I'm happy to advise that yesterday I went in for my skin cancer treatment. And despite touching a little cartilage and some pain and a bulky little bandage routine on the ear, all clean, margins clear, and so celebration there. And then the frosting on that cake, of course, is Brittany from Just in Time joining us today. And let me extend the invitation to anybody on the phone. Tomorrow afternoon at about 3 o'clock, I'm going to present the Kiwanis Foundation check at the headquarters at Just in Time. So for any of you that are interested in going, please text me or email Judith or myself or whoever, and we'll get you the address to show up there at 3 o'clock, because I'm going to have to turn sideways so my bandage isn't in the picture here. And we need more smiling faces that don't have bandages on their ears. And Brittany, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Gordon, you are gorgeous head to foot, front and back. So don't you shy away from the camera. Thank you for your generous donation and for introducing so many of the club members to Just in Time, an amazing program. Okay, last call for money. All right, moving on. What do we have next, Judith? You can always give. Let's just say that. Quick recap of the events. DCM, we hosted and had all kinds of amazing items for the raffle. Heck, I think Mike, if you're still on the call, you were at that event.
He just had to go, but Mike crushed it. So thanks, Mike, for representing our club well to the rest of the clubs.
Oh, San Diego Unified School District Counseling Office.
Sean was there.
Yeah.
And
Sean,
Jay
do you want
too.
to give a quick update, just a brief update, if you would.
Are we gonna have a follow-up on that?
We can talk about that at our next meeting, but Susan, I was there too. I'm the one behind the camera, and they showed us this plaque that we gave them in 2005. We have been supporting them for a really long time, and they were very grateful. In one of these photos, I'm not sure if it's obvious, she's holding puppets on her hands, and that was part of a kit of things that part of our money was used to fund. So they are very attached to our club, very grateful to have us, to have our support.
Thank you. And yes, Sean, we will have a continued conversation about the counseling and our support of it. So let's look at upcoming events, because I want this to be on everybody's calendar. Yes, folks, on Thursday, there is a networking event, an opportunity for you to come to the Mission Brewery and socialize and network with your fellow Kiwanians. So again, that's this Thursday. And then next Wednesday, Laurels for Leaders. This is the big event that everyone's been working so hard on. Thank you, Judith. Thank you to Emily Krause, who's not on the phone, but she's been so helpful. So that's the big luncheon at San Diego State. Judith, are there any seats left, or are we done?
Have people contact me.
Okay.
If we can talk about it.
Okay, wonderful. Then on Saturday, February 25th, we have a service project opportunity. I know they are limiting the number of volunteers, but it is at 10 a.m. if I recall on the 25th. Yeah, there's with Traveling Stories, another organization that we have provided support to. So please reach out to Judith if you'd like to attend, or log on to our site and make a reservation. March. On the 7th of March, we'll be downtown once again at UCSD, Market and Park. Or is it Park and Market? I don't know. Same crossroads.
Same thing.
We'll be downtown for our breakfast meeting. We have the author of this book, and it was a referral. We have Tom Bauer, who helped get this special guest to come in, and he will be sharing with us information about this book that he wrote. So really interesting speaker. Be sure to sign up. Delicious breakfast and a nice way to see each other in person. I don't know that the Dancing Queen t-shirt's going to be there, but if it is,
we'll do our best to walk it there.
Then we have, of course, our networking at Casa Machado here in beautiful Kearney Mesa on the 16th of March. How to get you in shape for, of course, the next day being St. Patrick's Day. And I think the legacy tour, so touring the Boys to Men ranch is available on the 18th of March. Again, that's a Saturday. Really great program that we've supported for a long time, and happy to show our support and to learn more about their program in general.
And Joe is going to host us. He's going to, if you read on the website, if you meet at the office, he's going to drive everyone to the ranch and drive everyone back.
Nice. Now that's some lift. And you get Joe's entertainment for the whole ride there and back. Oh my gosh, and yet one more thing, the virtual meeting in March, again, we'll do it via Zoom, just as we've done today. This will be a special guest from San Diego Loyal, the soccer club, and that'll be, again, another interesting program for all of us to learn from.
And our speaker is actually, she's kind of a famous woman soccer player if you follow women's soccer. Shannon McMillan. She has her own Wikipedia page with all of her accomplishments.
Awesome. And I'm going to round out March. I think this is our last one, March 25th. We have a sneaker and book giveaway. It's our service project that we're partnering with the Assistance League, and it'll give us the opportunity to actually hand books and sneakers to some very deserving kids. More to come on all of that. There's a bunch of links in the chat. If anybody wanted to make sure if you didn't already, let's be sure you grab those links before we exit.
And just a reminder, we announced our 2022-2023 community grant recipients. We will be sending out more, but we did select our great partners and projects for this year. If your organization or affiliate was not selected, don't worry, we start the process again in the fall, and we're always looking for new organizations. We have a great blend of ones that we have historical relationships with and some new ones. So lots of fun service projects and lots that we'll get to hear from these new partners. So yeah, we have Just in Time, San Diego Children's Discovery Museum, Boys to Men, the Burn Institute, Foundation for the Children of the Californias, I Love a Clean San Diego, Uplift, Star Pals, Survivors of Suicide Loss, Assistant League of Greater San Diego, and Voices for Children. So we're going to be doing a lot of impact in the youth and the community. So very excited about that.
Amazing. Whew. Did we get it in, Judith?
We did with 2 minutes to spare.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Again, thanks to our special speaker, Dr. Sonia. We really I learned a lot, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for the great program.
Great program.
Right.